Hey everyone, it's Carolyn. Welcome to the channel. Today I have another collective reading for you. We're doing another past life reading. I'll have my past life reading playlist linked in the cards above in case this is not the video with the message that's meant for you. If you're drawn to watch multiple past life messages, that's okay. We all have multiple different past lives, and typically the one we're receiving the message for is something that is ongoing in this lifetime. There's some similarity or obstacle that we are facing. That is why we're being told that past life message to help understand this lifetime a little bit better. But there are different lessons we can learn from each past life. I want to say, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe. I would love to have you a part of this family. I post new videos every single week. I do more past life readings like this. I also do other collective readings. I also do pick-a-pile readings and zodiac readings, along with other educational videos to help you all along your spiritual journeys. I do have a playlist where I teach you tarot by relating it to different pop culture things like movies and TV shows. That helps make the tarot cards a little bit more relatable, and so it's easier for you to understand. If you want to purchase your own reading, I do sell them. You can check out my Etsy shop, or you can message me on Facebook or Instagram. And if this reading resonates and you're drawn to leave a donation, they are greatly appreciated. I'm going to have all my links to contact me in the description box down below. So for your cards, you have the Arts, Leaving or Travel, Unrequited Love, Baby, Lessons and Blessings, Finances, Food and Hunger, Monk or Nun, Greco-Roman, High Priestess or Priestess, and Phobias. So I get the sense with the Arts, in this past life, you were very self-expressive. I get the sense that fashion or the way you dressed was really a part of you standing out. I hear that a lot of you did something with your hair. So it could have been your hair color, it could have been the way you styled your hair, but your hair was really unique to your appearance. I am sensing that you were a woman in this past life. With the Arts energy, it always feels like you were trying to show your feelings and emotions to people, and you want it to be understood. And so if you couldn't verbally say how you felt or express yourself that way, you found other avenues to do so. Now you have the Leaving or Travel card, and so this is indicating that you didn't have a specific place that you really stayed in too long. I'm not getting an exact location for you, and I think it's because you really did bounce around. It feels like you really traveled, and I think that's why you were really self-expressive with yourself, because people didn't have a lot of time to get to know you. And so if you had your walls up, if you kept yourself bottled away, you wouldn't have these true connections with anyone, and you would kind of just be passing through people's lives and not really imprinting on them in any way. And so I think you found that it was easier to make friends when you seemed less intimidating and more approachable. And so that's why it was really important for you to be able to express yourself and to reveal your emotions up front. It's like you didn't want to have a mask. You didn't want to make people on edge. You wanted them to instantly be comfortable with you because you didn't stay in places long. And so you wanted to build these friendships at this hyper speed, and so you needed to go into it with an advantage. It's almost like you purposely cultivated this image of yourself that you expressed to the world to not only express yourself, but also make it where you had all these opportunities opened for you, because you never wanted to hold yourself back from something because of the way that people perceived you. To me, it feels like your image was very essential to your identity. And when it comes to your personality with this unrequited love, I think this goes to the fact that you really held your heart on your sleeve. And so you were very open with emotions. And I feel like, unfortunately for you, your feelings were not always reciprocated. I feel like you dealt with a lot of people who didn't appreciate your vulnerability. And I think you also dealt with people who preyed on your vulnerability, who preyed on your emotions, because you were like this open book. It was very easy for people to read you, and I think you had people take advantage of that. And I think you did deal with some fake people in your life who played games with you and who manipulated you and ultimately ended up hurting you. And I think in this lifetime, it might be hard for you to fully express yourself and to feel like you can open up to people and feel like you can trust them, because you were so open in your past life and it completely backfired on you. I feel like in this past lifetime, there was someone that you were in love with, that you had these very strong feelings for, and I feel like you ended up getting pregnant by them. And I get the sense there was a little bit of an issue with a power dynamic. I think money could have been at play. I think this person could have come from a wealthier background than you, and because of this, it's like you saw them as someone who genuinely loved you. You thought you fell in love, and you thought that you were going to be set for life with them because they were going to take care of you, and you two were going to be a team because you were very open with your emotions with them. And I get the sense that this person was just using you. And I don't think they ever actually had any intentions of marrying you, of bringing you into their world. This was a lot of talk that they were just saying, and you were believing it because you thought that they were like you. You thought that they were being vulnerable with their emotions. And meanwhile, it was all just lies for them. And so when you got pregnant For them, it was like they played games. They won a stupid prize. They didn't want anything to do with you or with the baby anymore, and they casted you aside. To me, I get the sense that this was very blindsiding for you, because this entire time you thought that they were serious. And so now you didn't have the same opportunities and money that they had to be able to keep this child. And so I'm getting the sense that either they swooped in with their family and with their money to try and take the child away and give it to someone else and avoid this scandal, or you were left and you had to give your baby to someone because you didn't have the means to take care of them. I get the sense that this was a very traumatic experience for you and you were not able to keep this child. I feel like you did give birth, so I don't sense that there was any issues with the pregnancy or with giving birth. And so I don't feel like you lost the baby. I feel like you had to give the baby up. You gave the baby away and it wasn't your choice. You didn't want to do this. You just had no other options. You had no other means. And I think this was very difficult for you. Like I said, it was very traumatic. And I think in this lifetime, you may also have issues with feeling like you were deserving of kids. You might feel like you're going to be a bad parent because you carry this guilt and the shame for not being there for your child even though you wanted to be. And so the way it's carried over into this lifetime is you feel like you're inadequate when it comes to that area of your life. And some of you in this lifetime have chosen not to have kids because you don't feel like that's a part of you. And that stems from this past life of you not being able to have that option. And so in this lifetime, you just decided that you didn't want that option. You didn't want to feel all that love and compassion again and have it not work out. I do get the sense that this child from this past lifetime reincarnated into this past lifetime along with you, and they're in your life, or they're going to come into your life. Some of you, this is going to be your actual child, and so because you didn't get to keep them in this past life, you now get to keep them in this lifetime. But for others of you, this is someone who is around your same age, who you would consider a friend, and it's almost like you are this parental figure in their life, and not in a sense where they're annoying, in the sense where they are just so spontaneous and wanting to do things, wanting to try different things out. You have to kind of be the responsible one out of the two of you, and you feel this need to protect them. And that is this past like child of yours in this lifetime, that because you couldn't protect them then, you want to protect them in this lifetime. And so in this lifetime, you're doing what you couldn't then. And so it's healing that emotional karma between you two. And the reason why you met them in this lifetime is to not only do what you couldn't in that past lifetime, but it's also so that you heal this karmic connection between you, and you have that unconditional love and support in this lifetime. I get the sense that when it comes to this person, it's like you felt like you've known them forever. You feel like it's so easy to get along with them and like you just click. And that's because you two were blood related and bonded in this past lifetime. And so just because in this lifetime you might not be related by blood, you still feel that connection, you feel that closeness. And so with this relationship carrying over into this lifetime, it's supposed to help you heal any shame and guilt you feel. So if you're carrying these feelings of feeling like you're not going to be a good parent or like you're inadequate, you're meant to heal that in this lifetime. That's not meant to be something that you continue to carry. It's okay if you choose to not want children in this lifetime, but it shouldn't be coming from this energetic karma of feeling like you failed in this past lifetime because you didn't fail. That was a situation that you were dealt. It wasn't your choice. If you could have kept your baby, you would have. And so I would recommend doing some meditations or trying to do some shadow work to figure out in this lifetime what you can do to heal this energy so that it doesn't continue to follow you into the next lifetime. With lessons and blessings, I get the sense when it comes to the karmic lessons of learning not to deal with fake people and have a tolerance for people who are just using you and manipulating you, you stop that cycle right then and there. That is when you learn to protect yourself and make sure that you are actually reading people's energy and not just listening to what you want to hear. You learned that lesson the hard way. And I feel like that was something that could have followed you from previous lifetimes. And because you got so hurt and betrayed by this person, that was the final lesson you needed to understand this karmic situation and no longer have any tolerance for it. I get the sense that in this current lifetime, it might be hard for you to find romantic connections or to really open up to people because you do have your walls and your guards up. But that's because you don't have time for anyone's bullshit. You are not going to play games with people. If you sense that, I feel like you dip. I get the sense it may be hard for you to commit because you're afraid of them not being who they truly say they are. And I think sometimes when it comes to dating, you can appear a little bit bitchy or too blunt or too rude for people, because you are very direct with what you want. You know what you want and you know what you don't want, and you're not afraid to say it. I think you really learned how to set proper boundaries that have carried over into this lifetime. And I think when it comes to cutting people out, you do it without hesitation, because you rather do that than face the consequences of having them hurt you, having them betray you. And so I get the sense in this lifetime, people might look at you and think certain things about you, but you know in your heart that you're doing it for the right reasons, and it stems from this past life. And so I get the sense that in this lifetime, your lesson might actually be having to find the balance of who you were in this past life, who was so sensitive, wore your heart on your sleeve, and was very upfront about their emotions. And it's like in this lifetime you've overcorrected, and it stems from this good place, but you have to find that balance in which you're cutting people off when needed, and where you're not assuming the worst because of one thing. It's like you need to find the balance of looking at all the data and then realizing what's best for you to do. Do you continue to believe someone? Do you continue to trust them? Or do you say, this is the nail in the coffin and I'm done? Because I think it's very easy for you to push them away and fall into these patterns of saying they're not good enough for me, or I can do so much better, I deserve so much better, but not looking at the situation for the nuance that it is. So I think that's a little bit of advice that your past self wants you to take into this lifetime, is to be a little bit more cautious before acting, really understand everything, and don't do things just because you're so afraid that patterns are going to repeat or that someone is going to betray you or hurt you. Because yes, that's true for some people, but that's not going to be true for everyone, and you have to act accordingly to the situation. I think wealth was very important to you in this past life, and not in a greedy sense, in a sense in which you wanted to protect yourself, you wanted to protect your family. Before you got pregnant, your ideas about marriage and family and your life was one in which you were accumulating things that you needed to enjoy your life, not in which you were overindulging, but just so you could live a happy life. I think you always imagined having someone who was a partner who was going to help provide for the family, and in which you were able to actually have a family and be very happy with everything that you had. And I think that's why when you found this person, that was like an added bonus that they were going to be able to provide, that they came from wealthier means than you, because the idea of this family that you wanted, you were creating in your head, and that was going to become reality, or so you thought. And so I think that after this whole debacle with them happened, it left you in a little bit of a daze and not really knowing what to do. And that's why you ultimately ended up giving your child up, because you realized you didn't have the financial means to take care of them and to give them what they needed. You also would not be able to provide for yourself. And I also think that not only were you afraid of opening up to someone else, but you also realized practically the people who you would meet wouldn't be able to help provide for you. And so your child wouldn't be able to be taken care of by you and someone else. There was no one else who was going to come into your life who would have the means to take care of all three of you, let alone if you ended up having more children. And I also bring up finances because you have food and hunger, and this is how you died. So you died because you didn't have enough to eat. And so this goes to the fact that you did not have a lot of money to buy the things you needed to survive. You did not have a lot of money to cover your means of existence. But I also get the sense that the way you died, it was not just about money. I think if you needed to stretch things and make them work, you would have been able to do so. I think part of the reason that you died of this hunger is because of everything that happened in your life. It made you depressed, it made you upset, and I think you just kind of decided to give up. I think you just stopped eating, you stopped taking care of yourself because of all this guilt, all the shame. And I don't think it happened right away. I think it took a lot of years to develop, but I just think over the years, the life that you had envisioned, the life that you wanted did not happen. And so you kind of just shut down, and that is what led to your death. I feel like the lack of finances didn't help the situation, because if you were gonna have any other options or people to talk to, and even a lot of friends, you didn't really have that, because it seems like after everything happened, you kind of pulled back from the world. You weren't expressing yourself the same way. You weren't as open with people. And so I think you became a little bit of like a hermit, a little bit more reclusive. And so you didn't have the friendships, you didn't have the opportunities that money could give you to seek help. And so you kind of just started to wither away, for lack of a better way to express it. And so I get the sense that in this lifetime, you could have issues when it comes to food, and and you could have issues when it comes to your body image and the way that you perceive your health. These three cards, Monk, Renown, Grecial-Roman, and High Priest or Priestess, gives me this spiritual energy. I get this sense that in this past life, because of the way that your life didn't pan out how you expected it to, you did try to find religion, you did try to find some peace with your situation, but I don't think you were able to actually make peace with it. I don't think you were actually able to find the answers that you were looking for, and I think that it made you a little bit upset. It made you a little bit heartbroken, and I feel like that's what caused you to go down the spiral that led to your death, because you felt like there was no hope, because it's like the answers you were seeking were not making you feel any better. And I get the sense that in this lifetime you're more spiritual, but I don't think you're necessarily religious. I think you might not have found a religion that you actually fully like or support. I think you might have found bits and pieces from it, but not one that you full-heartedly believe in 100%. And I get the sense that in this lifetime, by finding your own sense of spirituality, you have actually been able to heal a lot of inner wounds and trauma that you've carried. And I think it's actually made you feel a little bit more peaceful in this lifetime and make up for the lack of peace in this other lifetime. I get the sense you might have issues with astrology though, specifically when it comes to zodiacs. And I think a part of this might be that you are only looking at your sun sign and you're feeling like that doesn't express you, that doesn't fully explain who you are. And I feel like you need to look at your whole chart, not just your sun sign, but look at all your other signs, look at the houses, look at the positions of everything, and see the full story of who you are. And I think by doing that, you might find some clarity on why you act the way you do, on other things that you carried, specifically if you look at your North Node and your South Node from this past lifetime into this lifetime. And with the Phobias card, I feel like what your past self wants your present self to know is that you need to go out, you need to face your fears, you need to understand them and find where they stem from, whether that's this lifetime, whether that's this past lifetime. Understand what is triggering it so that you can heal it, that you can face it, and you can overcome it. Because everything in this past lifetime that has carried over into this lifetime is causing some trouble or conflict that you need to resolve and you need to face in order to overcome it. Continuing to be afraid of things isn't going to solve them. It's just going to continue this pattern of pushing things down, and they're going to continue to carry over into your next lifetime. And especially because this past life was very traumatic, there was a lot of wounds that it left with you, a lot of past pain that carried over to this lifetime is making it where this lifetime is meant for you to heal. You're meant to face things. I think that's also why you have the High Priestess energy here, because you are really meant to step into your power and have this wisdom, have this understanding and this intellect, and know what you need to do in order to face it. The High Priest, the High Priestess has this power within them where they're able to understand their purpose, they're able to understand their destiny, they're able to understand what they're meant to do in this lifetime. And that's what's going on for you, is you're slowly going to understand what you were on this lifetime to do. And part of that is facing these phobias, overcoming things and facing your fears to step out of your comfort zone and face challenges. I get the sense that in this past lifetime, because you allowed all these difficulties and challenges to defeat you, this lifetime you're meant to face them and not let them defeat you. And not that this was necessarily in your control, because I'm not trying to victim blame your past self, but this lifetime your situation is different. This is something that you actually have the means and the ability to overcome and to stand up to and say, you know what, this is going to cause challenges, but I'm going to do it this way because this is going to make me happier. I really get the sense that in this past lifetime, if you hadn't met that guy, things would have been completely different, because it would have completely changed your course and your trajectory. And that's where this High Priestess energy is coming in and saying, listen to your intuition. Listen to what your gut is telling you about a situation before you give into it and before you do something, because something might seem innocent, but it can have this ripple effect that ultimately leads to the end. And so in this lifetime, you're meant to be a little bit more assured and a little bit more confident in your decisions, where you have this understanding of what the risk and reward is of everything before you allow it to happen. This way you know what the worst case scenario could be, and you know what the best case scenario could be, and you're prepared for it. This lifetime is meant to have you face your fears and your phobias, so that this way in this lifetime there's not going to be a similar situation that makes you spiral. This past lifetime was meant to give you lessons. It was meant to prepare you. Yes, it was traumatic, but it's almost like that was meant to be so traumatic so that you understand the lesson. You don't forget it. Subconsciously, it will stick with you. Even if you heal it, you're going to remember it. And so those lessons are going to be that much more important and stick with you so much more than if it was something that wasn't as intense. And so I'm really sorry that you went through this in this past lifetime, but I hope that this gave you answers, and in this lifetime, you're able to turn things around because you learned these karmic lessons, and you're able to now bring in balance, especially in regards to your love life and your connections with others, to prevent yourself from pushing too far and overcorrecting the other way. And so I hope that this reading resonates with you. I hope it helps you out and gives you some clarity, some answers about yourself. If it did, let me know in the YouTube comments down below. Also give this video a big thumbs up and share with others who need to hear it. Like I said earlier, if you want to get your own private reading, I do sell them. Every way you can contact me is going to be in the description box down below. And if you're not already subscribed, please do so. I would love to have you part of this family. I'm going to have other videos linked in the cards above for you to watch now. And I can't wait to see you all in my next video. I hope you have a good one. Bye.